Please be seated. Thank you. All right, it is now 7:02, and I'm calling to order this County Board meeting of Thursday, July 18th at 7:02 p.m. Please have the roll call.
McGuire. Here. Michaels. Here. Mitchell. Here. Petrie. Here. Quisenberry. Here. Richards. Here. Rosales.
Here.
Schrader. Here. Schwartz. Alex. Here. Bergson. Carter. Here. Cowart. Esri. Here. Harper. Here. Hartkey. Here. James. Here. Jay. Here. Kibler.
Here.
Langenheim. Here. Maxwell. Here. Kurtz.
Here. Thank you. Our prayer tonight. First, July 4th has just come and gone, and I congratulate America on another year of independence. This has been a great month. Spent a lot of time with my grandkids, and it was really wonderful. And tonight's blessing is going to be a blessing of America. May America use her blessings wisely and well. May we not squander her abundance on frivolity. May our strength be always on the side of justice. May our leaders be strong enough to seek peace. May the great, strong hearts of our people be open. May our labors be of benefit to America and the world. May our legacy be one of enduring equality and liberty. May all who seek citizenship be ever welcomed here. May our government act with soundness of judgment. May Americans be worthy of the hope put in our hands. Bless America this day and every day with greatness. With each of us are the guardians of America's fate. We, the people, are the greatest strength of America. We bless America this day and celebrate freedom. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Notice of the meeting, please.
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on July 18th, 2013, at 7 p.m. in the Lyle Shields Meeting Room, Brookings Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to accept the reading of the notice. Mr. James, Mr. Carter for second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'd like approval of the agenda and the addendum. Mr. Rosales, one. Number two, for Mr. Esri. Any changes to the agenda or addendum? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. As you notice, number 6, all the date and times of the next regular standing meetings, standing committees, committee of the whole, and county board meetings are all posted. Next will be our public participation. And I'd like to remind all those who will be participating that we have a 5-minute rule for each participant, and we'll go 1 hour to 8:05 if it's necessary. First would be Dr. Grant Henry. Dr. Henry, would you please step up to the podium? Thank you. Where's that? Okay. Just press the button in the middle on the front there, Grant. Thank you.
My name is Grant Henry, and I live at 3304
Country Bend Place in Champaign, Illinois, 61822. I'm sitting before you this evening asking for your support for my reappointment to the Housing Authority of Champaign County Board.
Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming in.
Appreciate being here.
Mr. Tassilo Homolach, please.
Good evening. My name is Tassilo Homolach. Anything close usually works. I live at 108 West Washington Street, Champaign, Illinois, apartment 409. 61820 is the zip code, and I'd like to thank you for considering me for the position on the Champaign County Board of Health. Give a little background. Okay, I've been in the community about 40 years. Came here, it's kind of interesting. When I was looking for a job, I thought, how could I market myself? And the hospital I went to, I said, I'd like to work nights and every weekend. Well, this is the best thing since sliced bread for them. And over the years, I worked my way up. I was at one time owner of a hospital medical department, a clinic medical department. Had titles of Chief Pulmonary Function Therapy to Christie Clinic, Director of Pulmonary Function Therapy to Carl Clinic. And it was a wonderful experience bootstrapping my way up. Being on this board would give me an opportunity once again get my feet wet in the health field. So I'd like to thank you for your considerations.
Thank you. Ms. Joyce Dill?
Hello. I have been a member of the Champaign County Developmental Disabilities Board. I am happily going to be nominated for that board. I have been. I'd like to just tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Champaign-Urbana. I was raised in a family where I had a brother who had an intellectual disability. Growing up, there were no services for my brother at that time because there just weren't any. And so my parents became very involved in the community and the county. My father and my mother helped start the first school for people with developmental disabilities and also the first recreational program for them. It was called MARC. And that was during the time when we called people with developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities mentally retarded. So it was Mayor's Action for Retarded Children is what it was. My parents were also instrumental in getting mental health board going. My dad served on the mental health board for 11 years. And growing up in that environment, I decided I wanted to be a special ed teacher, which I think is exactly what my family needed. So what I did was I got my bachelor's and my master's degree from the University of Illinois in special ed. I taught special ed and later started some alternative high schools in Rantoul, in Mahomet, and in Clinton. And I have a son who has a developmental disability. It turned out there was a genetic disorder in my family that was not recognized until my son was born. And that's called Fragile X syndrome. It actually was not discovered until 1991. My son was born in 1976. So I have the perspective of a sibling, a parent, a teacher, and a concerned citizen. So I'm really hoping that you will approve my nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alan Singleton?
Good evening. My name's Alan Singleton, and I reside at 2086 County Road 125 East in Mahomet. My office is 2001 South First Street, Champaign in the U of I Research Park. I'm an attorney representing Philip and Sarah Beth Jones in relation to a request for a rezoning of their property, which is a couple of miles north of the Douglas County, Champaign County line. This matter was before the Zoning Board of Appeals and then earlier before ELUC, and at that point, the recommendation was to not approve the rezoning. Since that time, we've had the Gertis decision, which has shed some light on the agricultural exemption as it might apply to the use of flight, instruments of flight and agriculture. If the county board were to grant the rezoning from CR to Ag 1 on this acreage, that would constitute a changed condition, which we could then go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals and have a discussion with them on the possibility of getting a special use permit at that level. The reason the board might consider doing that, despite the earlier recommendation against that by the Zoning Board of Appeals, is in light of Gertis, if this case ends up going the court route, there might not be the opportunity for the county to sit down and impose special conditions that would mitigate effects on the neighbors. But on the other hand, if we go back to the Zoning Board of Appeals, it is very likely that there would be special conditions imposed, such as limits on the number of flights, limits on the approach angle of the aircraft, and measures to take to aid in the conservation nature of the project. So it's a decision that's certainly up to the county board, but if you decide to approve the rezoning, I think it might end up with a result that is at least a little bit closer to a win-win than if it's just defeated tonight and the case has to go in a different direction. Thank you for your time this evening, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singleton. Mr. James Kilgore.
Good evening, James Kilgore, 511 South Draper, Champaign. I'm here to speak to the reentry proposal, to keep this on your radar. It's a proposal that came through the task force, and I'm asking you, when you enthusiastically approve the increase of the public safety sales tax for prevention from 5% to 30%, that you include some support for the reentry proposal. So I want to reiterate some of the basics of this and also look at some of the financial implications and other long-term implications of a program like this. As you may know, there's 437 people on parole at the moment in Champaign County. About 63% of them are African American, and about 44% of them will end up back in prison or jail within 3 years, given the past patterns. The majority of those people will end up back in prison or jail in the first year, and and also the majority of them will be arrested for new crimes, not for parole violations. So what does this mean? Doing some quick calculations, it seems that that would mean 65 people in our county jail within a year. According to ILPP, the average length of stay for someone who ends up going to IDOC is 57 days. If we multiply that times the rough costs, that's about $220,000 for that cohort. Plus, we can add that there's another 35 people who are in their second or third year of post-release who are also going to be in that boat. And so if we add up the costs for those people, that's something on the order of $120,000 to house them in the jail, for a total of $340,000 spent on people who have returned from IDOC and are on parole in this county. So if we were able to have a reentry program that would address some of the needs of these people, even to cut it by a third, we could save $113,000 of expenditure. But I think there's a lot more important long-term benefits from a program like this. that will both save money and have important social impact in the community. First of all, it's going to reduce the crime rate and reduce the need for police services if people on parole, instead of resorting to crime, are actually being gainfully employed. These people are potential role models, success facilitators in the community that can turn around some of the serious problems. And part of what motivates me to do this is a friend of mine that I met named Ricky Benavides. And unfortunately, I met him in U.S. Federal Penitentiary, Lompoc. Ricky was 20 years old, and he first met his father in prison as a fellow prisoner. This generation to generation incarceration needs to be stopped. And if we can turn around the lives of people who are coming back from prison, they become a powerful force in the community to stop this. They become role models for their own children and for other people in the communities. So we want to try to put some kind of services that are addressing the needs that these people face at the critical moment, that is, in the first few months when they come back from prison. We want to turn these people into taxpayers. We want them to be paying that quarter-cent safety sales tax instead of using that tax to house them in the county. So that's part of the goals of this reentry program. And lastly, it's also a way of addressing the question of racial disparity in our jail population. And this is a constructive way of addressing this without having to have conflicts over who is doing what, but rather to be addressing a population that's disproportionately African American and keeping them from landing in the jail. So what is needed for this to happen? We believe, in designing this proposal, we believe that this project needs a driver. It needs a project coordinator. It needs a case manager. It needs a director to get it going. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And we are asking that the county board supply some funding for a driver for this project to get it going and to also begin to look at other sources of funding for programs like this. If we leave this to a free market, if we leave this to happen, it's not going to happen. It needs someone who understands the sector, who understands the population, who's dedicated to serving that population, and wants to make a program like this happen. So we think it's a big priority. It'll have short-term financial impacts. It'll have long-term financial impacts in terms of expenditure, both on jail operations and jail construction, and it will have a lasting impact in the communities. Thank you.
Dual Cruz, please.
If I could just pause a second till the papers just come around so everybody can refer to them. Okay. My name is Durrell Cruz, and I live at 2007 South George Huff Drive. I'd like to say good evening. I would like to strongly encourage you to support the recommendation of the Community Justice Task Force to create a racial justice task force. Many in our community are still not aware or believe that racial disparities exist within the many levels of our criminal justice system. And I would like to take a minute to share with you the 2012 IDOT traffic data as a clear example of such racial disparities. What's interesting is the state has been collecting this data for 9 years, and the data you're looking at tonight was just released a week ago by the state of Illinois, and it's on the IDOT website. As you look at the sheet with all the figures, you can see all the local law enforcement agencies as they reported their traffic stops to the state of Illinois. So we have Urbana, Champaign, the county sheriff, the U of I, and then the state of Illinois averages below. We certainly don't have time to go into details to look at everything that's on this sheet. There's a lot there. But it's important to look, I think, at the columns that I try to highlight. One would assume that when we talk about traffic stop data, that you would expect racial groups to be stopped at the percentage of which they compose the driving public, if traffic stops are enforced equitably and fairly, or at least relatively close to that. When you look at this data, you can see that, in fact, that applies to every racial group in the county in our cities except the one, and that's the African American community. And if you look at the numbers from Urbana all the way down through the University of Illinois and look at the percentage that African Americans make up of the driving public, African Americans are stopped about twice what you would expect them to statistically be stopped each year. And this has been the case of the trend for the past 9 years. What's interesting is when you look at the state of Illinois as a whole around the state, that disparity is only about 4%. It's much smaller when you look at how other law enforcement agencies around the state apply to it. I would like you to just look at the last two columns very quickly, and then a couple of comments. One is consent searches, and it's when you request a driver, you can look and see who's asked, and you can also see the percentage of where contraband is found. And in every single case, people who were asked to consent to a consent search, more contraband is found in Caucasian drivers than African American, even though the percentages are just the reverse. The last column, very quickly, is on dog sniff searches, which is new data this year. And if you understand, if you look at this, what happens is if there's a reasonable suspicion, a traffic stop officer can request the dog team to come and do an alert. And the dog is taken around the car, and if he alerts, then you have probable cause to search the car. You'll notice that in Urbana, Canine Hunter, alerted 100% of the time. U of I, 100% of the time. In the county, 90% of the time. Champaign, 87% of the time. But then if you go and look at the found, in Urbana, they only found contraband 17% of the time. As you go through this data and look at it, you go down and look at the state of Illinois, there's something, I think, unusual happening with canine sniffs at traffic stops. And you can look at the numbers, and you'll see that African-American drivers are subject to dog sniffs equal to or more frequently than Caucasian drivers, even though they make up 1/5 of the driving population of Caucasian drivers in the outcome. So why do I share this data with you? I think, because I want to share with you, I think there's 7 reasons why you should consider supporting the creation of a racial disparities task force. 1, because, and it's on the back, so I just copied them so you can have that also. Because racial disparities have been acknowledged as an important issue that needs to be addressed by this community. 2, because by addressing racial disparities, the fundamental principles of our criminal justice system, fairness, equality, and justice for all, are reinforced and strengthened. 3, because an authorized and legitimate process to collect and analyze racial disparity data is needed to ensure its usefulness and integrity for all parties. 4, because this information will help us to understand how the system works and how it might be improved. 5, because changes resulting from this information will have the potential to improve overall public safety, reduce crime, and benefit the entire community. 6, because with new insights, limited financial resources may be more judiciously and effectively reallocated within the local criminal justice system. And finally, because it has the capacity to build community,
Thank you, Mr.
enhance
Cruz.
respect for the criminal justice system, and bring diverse racial groups to a close and better understanding of each other. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Larry Hall?
Larry Hall, I reside at 177 County Road 1600E, Villa Grove, adjacent to the proposed RLA to be discussed tonight, rezoning to an RLA case 687 AM 11. It was stated to ELUC that the proposed rezoned area was surrounded by agriculture Actually, the entire site is surrounded by property that is zoned for conservation recreation. At the east end of the strip in question is Route 130, and only across that highway lies farm ground zoned Ag 1. The Imbrah River is a river branch embanked by acres of woods and natural habitat zoned for conservation, which by definition is intended to conserve that area. A statement was made that there would only be about 5 helicopter landings per year. Actually, the proposed restrictions would have allowed 10 times that, plus fixed wing flights. We also found at the time of the filing there were 5 and now 6 aircraft owned by the Jones family, not 2 as stated by Mr. Jones' attorney at the ELUC meeting. On a circulated petition, 37 opposed the rezoning for multiple stated reasons, all covered in the hearings. During nearly 2 years of hearings with the zoning board, we cited numerous specific safety concerns backed by published articles, such as one from the Air Safety Institute stating that half of all aircraft accidents happen during takeoff and landings. In this case, that would have been less than 140 feet from our house. There were conflicting opinions regarding the impact on property values. Conflicting professional but personal opinions, not based on comparables because none exist and not supported by any written data. Landing strips in East Central Illinois were referenced by the Jones appraiser stating that property values in those areas were not affected. But it was shown that there's a consistent absence of residential property abutting those airstrips. And as an aside, there was also a consistent absence of woodlands and native habitat abutting those airstrips. The runways project into open fields. Those runways do. In this case, both conditions existed. Residential property abuts the proposed RLA, and woodlands and native habitat are encroached upon. With regard to the Monticello Strip, which was one of the examples used, the FAA information data states takeoffs to the south to avoid noise-sensitive residences to the north. Noise pollution was an issue. Regarding the conflicting property value opinions, obviously one was right and one was wrong. And we should not be subjected to the risk that the opinion from a reputable local real estate firm would in time be proven correct, that the negative impact on our property value would be substantial. I believe in property rights of property owners, so long as they do not infringe upon others or other property. Being an old hog farmer, if you allow me an analogy, comes to mind of cases over recent years of hog farm operations that have had a subdivision built up around them, and then the people in the subdivision begin to complain about the smell. If the hog farm was there when people bought the land and moved next door, they chose to locate there, and the hog farm should be able to continue operation, my opinion. But if the subdivision existed first and the hog farm moves in, the subdivision residents are in their rights to oppose something moving in next door and wanting to stink up their neighborhood. Our neighborhood was established, and none of us chose to move next door to an RLA. And their conservation area was certainly established longer than any of us. We ask you tonight to conserve the property rights of the neighborhood and conserve the natural habitat of the long-established conservation area and support the diligent, long efforts of the Zoning Board and ELUC recommendation to deny this rezoning and the RLA. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Julia Hall.
My name's Julia Hall, and I live at 177 North County Road in Villa Grove. And my husband and I and our neighbors have stood in strong opposition to the rezoning of the Jones property in case 687 AM 11. There have been only a few of the neighbors who did not sign the petition requesting denial of the RLA. Those persons were either relatives or had personal dealings, such as real estate transactions with the Jones family. Per their own testimony before the zoning board, the Jones family stated that they will suffer no harm if the property is not rezoned. They said that regardless of the outcome, they will continue as always. The communities will also suffer no harm if this property is not rezoned. The sole purpose of this rezoning was to allow the Jones family to construct and operate a restricted landing area for their personal use. The airports where Mr. Jones currently stores his planes have paved, lighted, legal runways. With his planes remaining in those locations, he is able to take off and land in any kind of weather. With his planes on a grass runway, which would have been the case on the proposed rezoned property, takeoffs would have been very problematic, if not impossible, in rainy or snowy weather, since the proposed RLA would have been partially in a flood zone. The rezoning and the RLA proposed by the Jones family would have caused permanent negative impact to the established natural ecosystem along the Embraer River and the residents of the E.E. Rogers subdivision, as well as the other homes in the area. The neighborhood around the rezoned area would have suffered irreversible harm because of the shattering of the peace and quiet and the rural environment, and by living with a fear that one of the landing or departing planes would crash with a real possibility of fatality. The proposed RLA would have been less than 100 feet from my front yard, the yard where my granddaughter and I play badminton. I'd also like to point out that this proposed RLA was moved back and forth many times, trying to get it to fit between the highway, Route 130, and the trees and the houses. The landing field, nothing but mowed grass with no markings, showing where a plane should land, would not have prevented a plane from landing closer to our home or closer to the neighboring farm property, closer to the trees at the end of the runway, or closer to the Route 130. The proposed runway would have been a very short runway, hemmed in with a highway to the east, tall trees to the west, and houses to the north, and there would have been no room for error. A small deviation or wind shear could have proven disastrous. By rezoning this property, the Champaign County CR District would have suffered harm by the reduction of the natural established forested area along the Embraer River. As you know, the trees provide improved water quality by slowing and filtering rainwater and protecting the watershed. In correspondence from several certified arborists, including Sandy Mason, they all concurred that the trees along the river would continue to grow to their maximum height and repopulate if they're not disturbed. These trees produce valuable oxygen and remove carbon dioxide, as well as provide cover for the existing native species of birds, bugs, and animals that currently inhabit the area. I would also like to address the traffic traveling along Route 130 in front of our house. This has been presented as an issue, and probably everyone in this room has a road or a street in front of their house, but except for a fly-in, in a fly-in subdivision in this community, no one in Champaign County, and I would guess that perhaps no one anywhere, has a restricted landing area 140 feet from their bedroom window. The Zoning Board and the Environmental Land Use Committee voted to deny this map amendment, and we ask that you uphold these rulings. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Jeannie Fisher?
Hello, I'm Jean Fisher. I reside at 195 County Road, 1600 East, Villa Grove. It's an area right on Route 130, about 3 miles north of Villa Grove. I've lived there for over 25 years. I've raised 2 children there. I have sheep, and I also have horses there. It's an area that is used currently for farming area, and I enjoy my area for conservation and my property that I've lived there. I wanted to say that I don't know if everybody is aware, but some of the evidence that was brought forth in the 687 AM 11 case were facts such as only 1% of Champaign County is in conservation area. That means forested areas with mature trees and river basin running through it. This is a conservation area we live in, and it needs to be preserved and protected. The particular mentioning of the Gertis case was an area, I feel that it is somewhat distracting the board here from the real case at issue. The Gertis case did not involve a map amendment. This is a map amendment. from rezoning to conservation to agriculture. The very capable hands of the zoning board overwhelmingly decided in a 5-to-1 decision not to rezone the map amendment. And ELUC, another committee of expertise, followed through suit in reaffirming that decision to deny the map amendment rezoning. So I wanted to make that point. There were 32 households in this area that signed a petition that they did not want to have an RLA in their area for the various reasons that Mr. Hall stated. We want to preserve and protect the conservation areas, and we feel that the board should also approve the resolution of 687 AM 11, approve the resolution to deny and protect our valuable conservation district. Thank you.
Bobby Trist.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Trist. I live at 503 North Fair Street in Champaign, and I'm getting to be a familiar face to address the board. I've been working with a small group from NAMI, which is the National Association of Mental Illness, something like that, here locally, on ways to reduce the number of mentally ill in the jail and to save the county money. We're exploring a model program from Texas which saves their taxpayers millions of dollars a year and has much better outcomes. 6% recidivism rate for the homeless and or substance abuse and mentally ill that are part of this program. I think, well, everyone would agree that's pretty impressive. We're also looking at other peer-to-peer programs around the nation. The local NAMI has members being trained in East Peoria later this month by NAMI, Illinois, for a peer-to-peer program. You might remember that I stated earlier in the spring that this spring marks 50 years that I've been involved with mental health since I participated in an American Friends Service Committee weekend at Ypsilanti State Hospital in, I think it was February of 1963. That doesn't even count the fact that I had a father and a brother and an adopted daughter, all of whom had issues with mental illness. So really, all my life, I've had involvement with mental illness. I've since become a licensed clinical social worker, and although I am not currently working in the field, I am still credentialed and very interested in the fate of the mentally ill in the jail. And I've worked in mental health in Germany, in Illinois, and in Michigan. So we are looking to save the county money and improve outcomes for everyone and reduce the need for jail bed space. So I hope that the county board will consider this matter as you consider how to move forward with the suggestions from Dr. Kalmanoff. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophia Lewis.
Good evening, board members. I'm Sophia Lewis, representing the Women in the Jail Work Group of the Jail Committee of CUCPJ, which is the Champaign-Urbana Center for Peace and Justice that meets at 400 North Broadway. I am here this evening to discuss parent-child contact visits in the jail or the absence of such visits. My understanding upon inquiry is that those visits were canceled by the previous jail superintendent, Captain Michael Moore, sometime between 2008, when he first started that position, and late last year in 2012. And they are no longer there. Even when they were conducted, they were only allowed for incarcerated people who had cases with the Department of Children and Family Services. And there is such a thing as the Bill of Rights of Children of Incarcerated Parents. It was drafted in 1993 in San Francisco by the San Francisco Children of Incarcerated Parents Partnership. It is an easy search on the internet under sfcipp.com. And most certainly, if there are alternatives to incarceration that exist such that a parent does not have to worry about having access to their children, we certainly would not want to get in the way of that. What is being requested here, well, first for a moment, I'll back up and explain the difference between, just explain to the public what a child contact visit is versus what they do still have now continued, which is the window-only visits. A contact visit in the jail is when the child is brought and is able to be in the same room with the parent and interact with the parent, touches and hugs and that kind of normal parent-child interaction. And there are various states throughout the country that have drafted their own versions of the Bill of Rights of Children of Incarcerated Parents, including, I believe it was Alabama and New York and certainly California, where the bill originated. In Cook County, they have the Mom and Me Parent-Child Contact Program, where I believe the children can spend weekends in the jail facility with their parent. And this was done, if you look at the Cook County website, where they have their women's justice programs, the sheriff's women's justice programs, this was done in recognition of the fifth right in the Children's Bill of Rights of Children of Incarcerated Parents, which says essentially that I have the right, and it's all written in the first-person voice of a child, I have the right to see, to hear, and to touch my parent, my incarcerated parent. And last year, the United Nations, in March of 2012, they adapted large portions of the bill for their resolutions that are related to children. So what we're asking, getting back to what we're asking, is about the same as if you were to understand that you're going to do some remodeling, interior remodeling, and in this case, your criminal justice system, but you know that in the meantime, while you're preparing for that, you could at least just paint the fence. So what we're asking you to do is to reinstate, before you go full-fledged into, debating over which of the proposals in the final ILPP report that you're going to take advantage of and to implement, to not wait for that time frame and to go ahead and have the jail to reinstate those parent-child contact visits. They're very important. And if you've seen, there's lots of evidence in various stories about states taking advantage of this idea that this is important, not just to the parent, but also to the child. There was one of the major 3 networks had a story about a daddy-daughter dance that was held inside of a jail or a prison in Virginia. Thank you. And one of the young men said something, he said that he had never worn a suit before. So you never know what kind of help this could be to a person who needs to turn their life around. And, okay, all right, so just to sum it up, I would like to make sure, do everything we can to work with people to make sure that Champaign County Jail doesn't mete out the punishment that keeps on punishing past the jail walls and on through to our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your participation. I'm going to apologize up front if I mispronounce this name. Nilufa Shambayati?
You did a beautiful job.
Did I do all right? I did good, huh? Okay. Thank you.
I didn't expect you to be able to pronounce my name. Oh, very close. Thank you. Very close. I appreciate it. Good evening. I appreciate this chance to speak here today to the members of the county board. I have prepared like a one-page long of my thoughts about the plan to build a new jail in the county and the alternatives that are upon us, and the fact that I believe that we should seize upon this opportunity to look at these opportunities. My name is Nilufar Shambayati. I live in Champaign, 2609 Cherry Hills Drive. And basically, I want to voice my support for a comprehensive overhaul of our county's criminal justice system, not just here and there a patchwork of reforms. I would like to first read two pieces of local news of News Gazette on a randomly chosen day in July 2013. It happens to be on July 10th, to basically make my point more clearly and more concretely. The first article, I hope I have time to go through this. The first article is titled 41-Year-Old Charged as Habitual Criminal. And a Champaign man with a 20-year history of convictions in Champaign County has been charged with being an armed habitual criminal. And I'm basically wondering, when I saw this, I started to wonder why such a person is free in the community, first of all, if that's the case, as this article is mentioning. The person who had called the police had told the police that she had urged this man, that she knew actually from before, to leave the parking lot, since she did not live there. When he refused, they began an argument, and then she told him she was going to call the police. When she pulled out a cell phone to do that, this man began driving away, but allegedly held a pistol out the window and fired it into the air. Fortunately, no one was harmed. And then the officer later found in his apartment a loaded handgun and a bulletproof vest. And then the records later on showed that he had several prior convictions going back to 1992, one for unlawful possession of weapons by a felon, one for misdemeanor battery, and one for possession with intent to deliver a controlled substance. And he's now spending time in jail until his trial date on August 27th. So basically, my question is, I don't know the state of mind of this person. I mean, I don't know him, know nothing about him. But I'm wondering, someone who's a habitual criminal, whether he's of a sound mind or not, or whether they have other problems in their lives. And I think it's our responsibility in the community to address whatever problems such a person has, because he, no matter what, is a member of our community. And also, if we don't deal with these kind of problems, we are probably endangering the lives of ourselves and others. The other example that I had is of a 40-year-old woman who was recently arrested and was recognized to have mental problems. And I, again, just selectively read of News Gazette. An Urbana woman with a history of police contacts has been charged with a felony alleging she tried to set a fire inside her mother's home. And this person had contacts with the police, so the police was aware that she had some mental health problems and issues. And the police, first of all, did the wise thing, which was took this woman to the Presence Covenant Medical Center, where they tried to have her involuntarily committed. The police says that the hospital officials declined to admit her because she had failed to
Ms. Shambayati,
cooperate.
that's 5 minutes.
Is it already?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay, so
Thank
what?
you.
So I wrap
Thank
it
you.
up. I wrap it up. So what I wanted
No,
to say.
it's-
No,
time's
I'm
up.
going to just wrap it up.
Your time is
Just-
up, ma'am. Please.
Okay. I just want to say that a comprehensive mental health program would really benefit
Thank you.
all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak in public participation at this time before I close it? Okay, public participation is closed. Thank you all for your participation this evening. We move on to communications of the board. Is there any communication? I have a couple of communiques. One, a couple of weeks ago, though, the Illinois Policy Institute, which did an audit on online transparency audit for 102 counties, found only 12 counties were able to pass muster on their audit, and Champaign County came in number 8 in the state of Illinois. So out of 102 counties, only 12 passed this audit, and we came in at number 8. I still think that's pretty good, even though there's room for improvement in all areas of any issue. I think coming in 8th is, for me, admiration for our IT department and for our staff and putting up the important issues of the day for the public to review. Secondly, I just received a communique from Mr. Philip Crean. I'd like to read that to you. Dear Mr. Kurtz, my wife relayed the message that you will be recommending me for the appointment to the expanded Champaign County Developmental Disabilities Board. I'm grateful for your support. Sorry I cannot attend the board meeting this evening to introduce myself, as I am returning from a Department of Energy project review and other business in Texas on an evening flight. Pending the outcome of the board meeting, I look forward to serving the county through the Developmental Disabilities Board. Sincerely, Philip Crean. Is there any other communications? All right, we'll move on. I'd like a motion for the approval of minutes of June 20th, regular meeting, June 25th, study session 2013. Mr. Mitchell, first. Can I have a second, please? Mr. Esri. We don't want to disappoint Mr. Esri. We'll get him in for a second there. Any discussion or changes on those minutes, additions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have a short Champaign County Convention and Visitors Bureau presentation. Please step up, introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Jane DeLuz, President and CEO of Visit Champaign County. I'll keep it short. Tonight, we're going to talk about tourism and its major role in driving economic development for Champaign County. So imagine, if you will, that tourism didn't exist here. Imagine no hotels, closed restaurants or limited hours, maybe a few unique retail stores, a handful of sport tournaments, very few arts and cultural festivals. Imagine the sense of well-being that they brought to the community just evaporated. When you consider all the factors, two major revelations appear. One, the main benefit of travel and tourism is for our residents. And two, tourism is the front door for economic development. Neither of these factors might be readily visible on a pro forma, but they are very real. So let's break it down by the numbers. In 2012, the Champaign County visitor industry resulted in 2,510 jobs, resulting in $4.96 million in local tax revenue that supports education, healthcare, public safety, and $298.5 million in direct spending by visitors on food, entertainment, transportation, and shopping. These numbers, provided by the U.S. Travel Association, show a 5.5% increase in direct spending over last year. The economy is stronger because of tourism. As the certified destination marketing organization, we showcase, promote, market the entire Champaign County area to the world. It is our job to investigate, discover, understand, develop, and confirm the growth of our visitor market. Our marketing strength comes from collaboration and mutual support of our tourism partners, the industry job force, and the community, because everyone benefits from tourism revenues. We need to be a collective voice in marketing Champaign County, especially in a time where our potential visitors have so many choices. This past FY13 fiscal year has been quite memorable for so many reasons. To give you a couple highlights, we completed our first year of an updated mission, rebranding efforts, restructured board of directors, revised bylaws, and a new sustainable funding model. We increased our number of tourism industry partners to include founding level, City of Champaign, Platinum, University of Illinois, Gold, Champaign County and Village of Savoy, Silver, Illinois American Water and the Village of Rantoul, Bronze, Busey, Robeson Family Benefit Fund, U of I Employees Credit Union, McDonald's, the News Gazette, Village of Mahomet, Village of St. Joe, and City of Urbana. We brought on State Farm as the title sponsor of the 27th Mile Celebrate Victory Bash during the Christie Clinic Illinois Marathon. Our international tourism efforts doubled this past year with record numbers of appointments at international and domestic trade shows and bookings that are continuing to happen. We received 2 major awards, the Best Tourism Marketing Campaign, which was presented during the Illinois Governor's Conference on Tourism, and the Excellence in Agritourism Award for our AgriTours Illinois program in conjunction with the Quad City CVB. That was from the State Comptroller's Office. This was the year of successful events, including the CVB bringing the Bloomington Gold Corvette Show to this area, which worked great in conjunction with the Blues, Brews, and Barbecue Festival, putting on the 27th Mile at the Christie Clinic Illinois Marathon, planning our first ever Toast to Tourism event, hosting the IHSA State Football and Wrestling Championships, and numerous other events where we were present with a community welcome booth, or we serviced the event, or we actively promoted it. We also increased our Savor the Flavor culinary tours for groups, such as 150 city planners from the APA Illinois Chapter Conference, from the U of I College of Law, from Wolfram Research, and just last night, we hosted a group of 60 from the Association of Business School Alumni Professionals. We reached out to more diverse markets. We announced the Sister Singers Network National Women's Choral Festival coming in July of 2014. We worked closely with Amasong, CU's premier lesbian feminist chorus, to put together this bid and be awarded this event. We also sponsored and provided a Savor the Flavor culinary tour for the Faculty Women of Color National Conference. We promoted CU Days at Douglas Park. We created an itinerary for the Gompers School of Fine Arts, which is a group of minority students that came down from Chicago. And we've increased the number of servicing family reunions, many of which have resulted from our longtime involvement with the MLK Jetty Roads Neighborhood Day. In the area of arts and cultural tourism, we announced the North American Saxophone Alliance Conference coming in March of 14. We assisted with the colloquia for education through music happening this week. We partnered with 40 North Arts Council to host the signature artist venue for the Boneyard Arts Festival. And together we facilitated a way-to-go wall of children's cheer pennants that lined the street for this 27th mile and was facilitated through all of the schools in the area. And we truly spent a good majority of our marketing and sales efforts toward the area of arts and cultural tourism. Finally, a highlight of FY13 came in the area of outreach and advocacy efforts. We created the Tourism Council, who came together on creating our new online discounts and deals program, and we strengthened the efforts of both of our sports and sales councils. Our community teams are so important in being our ambassadors. We also focus advocacy efforts with new and returning legislators on a local, state, and national level, including the first ever statewide hospitality summit involving the state associations for CVBs, restaurants, and hotels. So overall, it was a great FY13 year. So how do we make FY14 even better? Our theme, as noted in our work plan this year, is refine and outshine. We've created new initiatives, we've built new relationships, and our efforts are paying off. We want to refine our systems, and we want to outshine our competitors. A couple highlights for this year. We plan to build upon our increasing level of tourism industry partners and other income sources to further our sustainable funding model. We plan to expand international tourism opportunities through Brand USA. We will be actively involved in hosting IPW, which is the largest international trade show taking place in Chicago. We will have the opportunity during that show to bring a group of those international tour operators on a familiarization tour to Champaign County. Also in the area of international tourism, we are bringing a record number of 15 groups involving over 650 Brazilian agriculture professionals just prior to the Farm Progress Show. We're also actively promoting and will host a welcome booth at the Half Century of Progress Show. And we just booked 2 French groups yesterday who will be coming in this fall. We continue to see good results in international tourism. We're going to introduce a new itinerary, Triple D Galore, along I-74, which features diners, dives, and drive-ins from Danville to Quad Cities. It's a collaborative effort that we are leading with 6 CVBs involved. We will introduce a Hidden Treasures and Flavors of Champaign County tour, bus tour for residents, including a special focus and invite to our international students and their families to highlight the diversity of our community. The goal is for our residents, as well as our visitors, to appreciate and support our local businesses and attractions. We often use the saying, be a tourist in your own backyard. We'll welcome the Residence Inn and the Hyatt Place in fiscal year 14, which we are already working closely with both hotel properties on planning sales and marketing efforts. We plan to build upon the success of the Bloomington Gold Corvette Show, along with the many other events in which we're involved, and we'll continue to recruit other events that bring in visitors from around the region, nationwide, or international. So while it's great that we seek out and we're approached for supporting so many events, we have to maximize our limited resources. So we are creating a tiered level of servicing and support for some of those events. We'll focus marketing efforts with travel writers, increased use of video, and continued efforts toward rebranding Visit Champaign County. Finally, we plan to research collaborative efforts with 40 North Arts Council to create a county-wide public arts tour geared toward walking, biking, or driving. There's really so much more that's captured in our FY14 work plan, so these are just some of the top strategic initiatives. We're focused on driving economic development through tourism. It creates jobs and services, reduces taxes paid by local residents, enhances real estate value, and diversifies the economy. It generates community pride and improves our destination's image. I'll close with a huge shout out to the faces of Visit Champaign County, who work very hard and produce results. Corey Hatfield, Sports and Sales Director, Angela Ingerson, Leisure and International Tourism Director, Angie Poe, Office Manager, and Terry Reefsteck, Marketing and Business Development Director. Thank you to Max Mitchell, who does a great job as the county's representative on our board of directors. And most important, thank you to Champaign County for your gold partnership and continued support in driving economic growth through tourism development. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mitchell.
Want to just say that I'm the representative, and thank you for assigning me that task. And I've got to say that being involved with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, going over there, you've got to strap on your roller skates and keep up. So, but I think that it is truly economic development in the most sense that it's clean, and it educates people, whether they are from outside the county to on the other side of the world. So I think that the work that Jane and her staff, and also it's a tireless staff, because they have marshaled the big events, and they've really worked hard at expansion of smaller events, motorhomes, bringing bus tours to the community. So I think that we have the university, which is a great asset, but really they're filling hotel rooms. They're bringing people here, and, and the byproduct is going to be, maybe my corporation would like to locate in Champaign County, or maybe I'd like to live in Champaign County, and that's going to benefit us all. So thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you, Max. When you said clean, I kept thinking renewable energy. Like you guys are every day, you're renewing your energy. Mr. Rosales, did you have?
Yes, I personally wanted to thank you, Jan DeLuz, for bringing us the lovely brochure in multicolor. Also for all the things that you do for Champaign County. And I do have one question for you, which is kind of a tough question. Maybe perhaps I shouldn't ask it in public, but I think this is the perfect time to ask it because as Urbana has a new historical renovated hotel, which they spend millions of dollars on, and they renovated the Boneyard Creek in Urbana, and they're highlighting many of the wonderful things that they're doing in Urbana. Has Urbana been a bigger contributor, and has there been any additional dialogue or conversations to bring them on board as an equal partner to the Champaign County and Champaign, City of Champaign? Because I know the Blues, Brews, and Barbecue sort of went to Champaign where they were a little bit better received. And I know that I was part of that first Friday kickoff in Champaign downtown area, and I thought that was a beautiful partnership with 40 North as a past member. So I was just wondering if your commission or your organization has begun the dialogue with Laura Pressing from Urbana and brought them on board that this is an equal partnership amongst the Twin Cities and put Urbana back where Urbana should be, which is Urbana-Champaign, not Champaign-Urbana.
Currently, the city of Urbana contributes $2,500, which directly goes to the IHSA for hosting IHSA state footballs, which is why when people ask if they're listed as a bronze partner, that's why they're listed as a bronze partner. We have not approached the city, the CVB staff has not approached the city of Urbana at this point because we have been told several times that there would be no discussion from the end of the mayor. So that's, I guess, what I could say to answer that question. I will say about the hotel and about the attractions, our visitors don't know geographical boundaries, and so the city of Urbana benefits every time we have a countywide event, and we will never not recognize or refer if people ask us where they can stay, if they have points at a hotel that happens to be the Holiday Inn, if they want good barbecue at Black Dog. I mean, we look at it that our idea is that we promote the entire Champaign County area, but they definitely do benefit from the work that we do on their behalf.
And one last question, if you permit me, Mr. Chair. Are you still also attracting Canadian bus tours into Champaign in the Midwest? As a stopping
Absolutely.
in between perhaps Springfield and Chicago?
We are a very good crossover from Toronto all down to Florida, and so we attend the Ontario Motor Coach Association conference every year. It's a big trade show. What we have to remember, what's great about us is being at the crossroads of 72, 74, and 57, is that we get a lot of people who, coming through, we make a very good stopover, whichever direction that they're traveling. And I think today, if I heard Angela on the phone, she referred somebody that wanted a locally owned place, and they're going to go to Curtis Orchard once, I think it's in a couple weeks, to take a whole motor coach there for lunch. So we definitely benefit from Canadian visitors as well as bank travel. We're on mystery tours that take people across, the country or just a stopover. So we have quite a bit of that, and we get referrals from those all the time.
I just wanted to give you high praise for a job well done, and thank you for representing Champaign County.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate, I'm sorry.
I just put it up, thank you. I just want to echo my colleague, Mr. Rosales, about the accolades he bestowed on you, and I agree with him 100%. And I'm glad you touched on agritourism, because that's huge in this county. There's not really a lot of press or knowledge about what goes on. You mentioned, I know that every 2 years, there's a whole flood of Brazilian and Argentine farmers and professionals that come into this area. They go directly over to Decatur to the Farm Progress Show, which occurs every other year. And also, there's other delegations from China and other countries that come through here, visit farms, visit the multinational corporations that are here. DuPont is one of them, and I've been aware of that also. And I want to thank you too. I contacted you some months ago through email about agritourism, and you answered me right away, and you're very knowledgeable on that, and I appreciate that. And I hope you stay up to speed with that. I'm sure Farm Bureau and other agencies can help with that to get the word out, because that's potential economic activity that can happen internationally here in this area, especially with U of I as the draw. So I appreciate your efforts, and thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to add to that, just a couple of weeks ago, I ran into a Chinese delegation at the Urbana Market and got into conversation with with their leader. And they were very excited to be here in Champaign County. One, because they've never seen such farmland as the prime farmland that we have here. The farmland that they farm is so much inferior to ours. And with the U of I research and the U of I draw as well, all of them were staying here in Champaign County and spending their money here. So I'm sure it was American dollars, not yen. So I want to thank you. This is an excellent program, and we'd like you to keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Have a great evening. Are there any other questions? Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to areas of responsibility. Mr. Quisenberry, Policy, Personnel, and Appointments.
All right, thank you. If you look at your policy agenda, item number 1, I'm not as the committee, because the committee did not meet, but I am going to move myself the adoption of Resolution 8578, authorizing the appointment of Joyce Dill to the Developmental Disabilities Board, term ending 6/30/2015. Is that
Yes,
correct,
thank you.
Mr.
That's
Kurtz?
correct. And may I have a second, please? Second by Jim over here. Also, he was first, Ms. Coward. Any discussion? I'm sorry, Ms. Petrie?
Yes. I would like to amend this recommendation to substitute Susan Fowler's name for Ms. Dill.
I'm sorry, you cannot. That's out of order. This is a statutory appointment, and you cannot change this resolution as it stands. You can only vote no or yes on the resolution. Mr. Hartke.
I'm going to just kind of sum my issues up in this one, and I don't want Ms. Dill to think that this is about her, but
of course not.
I have some very serious issues with us not having a committee meeting, and with coming in tonight and these appointments to a multi-million-dollar board. They're going to create basically a majority of a quorum on this board without knowing the names until we show up tonight. I realize Mr. Kurtz went through a lot of work to make these appointments, but we are supposed to advise and consent, and since we're not really asked our advice, I would think we should have some time to offer before we offer our consent. Again, if we'd had committee meetings this month, as I so vociferously called for last month, these problems probably would not have been dealt with, and I'd probably not have as much problem with immediately voting to appoint people to 5-year terms on multi-million-dollar boards tonight as an action. So I'm probably going to be voting no. I would sure like to hear some other opinions on it.
Thank you. And no other. Mr. Kibler?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So maybe you can provide a little context as to why Ms. Dill was the chosen person for this particular
Sure, I'd be
appointment
happy
out of the
to.
5, please.
Thank you. This was a very difficult choice. Took many long hours of discussion with not only former board members, but with all of the staff at the DD board. We have 5 wonderful applicants, but I had to make a decision. My first decision last month was to bring a new member on board and replace Ms. Dill. The point tonight was we're appointing 2 more members to this board. I did not want first to have 3 brand-new members in a 5-member board. I think that would have swayed the balance to a very, very new board that would have a lot of learning to do. Second, Ms. Dill has been on this board, has been one of the most effective members of this board and sees both sides of the issue. For that reason, after very, very long searching of my conscience and of all of the other members, I decided that Ms. Dill would finish out the next 2-year term. And so I have appointed her because of her past experiences, successes, and work on the DD board. Any other discussions? All in favor? Aye. What's that? Ms. Petrie.
I will not be supporting Ms. Dill, and I do want it on the record, the reason why. It has nothing to do with her fine work in this area. She's been on this board since the inception of the board, which has been a long tenure. I am much more in favor of Ms. Fowler and Mr. Crean, and the reason for this is that both of these individuals have a great deal of success in writing and obtaining grants. And if ever there is a board that could benefit from those kind of skill levels, this is one of those boards. And as everybody knows, I have very strong, I've often made very strong comments about the need for us to aggressively go after grants, and this would give the opportunity to do so with those two people appointed to the board. And I am not a bit concerned about 3 new, fresh faces on the board as a deterrent.
Mr. Langenheim. Microphone, please. Hit the button. Thank you. Right in the middle.
Could we have a roll call vote on this?
Second. Yes, we can. Secretary, would you please, is there any other discussion? I'm sorry, any other discussion on this? I can't hear you, Mr. Carter. Please use the microphone, put it close to your mouth.
This is Miss Deal right here, right?
That's correct.
So she,
I asked her to come here to introduce herself. Okay, I have made her the appointment, and I'm asking her not to be cross-examined by 22 members of this board. So I would ask you to please refrain from asking any questions of Ms. Dill. If you're not happy with my appointment, you can vote no, sir. But I'm not going to have her come up to the board and have 22 members decide to cross-examine Ms. Dill and her years and decades of work in this industry.
well, Mr. Chairman, I have to say, that might be your prerogative, but when you asking somebody else to support you, I think you should change that attitude.
Thank you.
Because
But I
you
do
are,
have that
no, what
prerogative.
you are asking people.
Thank you.
I'm going to vote for her,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
but you asking people to put theirs on the line
Yes,
for you.
Get confidence in me, and that's what statutorily every single board chair in the state of Illinois has that authority. He makes that decision, not just me, but it's statutory, and I've chosen Ms. Dill, and I'm going to stick with Ms. Dill.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you should have a little respect for us, too.
I have a lot of respect for you, Mr. Carter. In this,
Show it,
in this
brother,
issue,
show it.
I'm going not allow any questions to Ms. Dill. I'd like to have a roll call, please.
McGuire. Yes. Michaels.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Petrie.
No.
Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales. Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson.
Yes.
Carter.
Thank you.
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Hartke.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Keebler.
Yes.
Rosales.
I don't know. We're voting on Ms. Dill. Roll call. No? Okay, thank you.
Langenheim.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries. Mr. Quisenberry.
All right, back to it. Item number 2. I move the adoption of Resolution 8579, authorizing the appointment of Philip Crane, is that the Crane? To the Developmental Disabilities Board, term ending 6/30/2016.
Can I
And I
have
so
a
move.
Second by Ms. Cowart this time. Got her. Any discussion? Mr. Mitchell? Roll call. Second. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
McGuire? Yes. Michaels? Yes. Mitchell?
No.
Petrie? Yes. Quisenberry?
Yes.
Richards? Yes. Rosales?
No.
Schrader?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Bergson? Yes. Carter? No. Cowart? Yes. Esri?
Yes.
Harper?
Yes.
Harkey?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Kibler?
Yes.
Langenheim?
Yes.
Maxwell?
Yes.
Kurtz?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Quisenberry.
All right, I move the adoption of Resolution 8573, authorizing the appointment of Jim Randall to the Zoning Board of Appeals Committee for an unexpired term ending 11/30/2017, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Maxwell. Do we have any discussion on Mr. Randall? Mr. Quisenberry.
Mr. Kurtz, could you explain your selection, please?
Absolutely. First, we have not had a ZBA member for, what is it, almost 2 years now? Mr. Randall has supplied an application. We looked at Mr. Randall. I've discussed this with former ZBA members and ZBA members. I've gotten some very good response, and I'd like to hear from one of the gentlemen that I discussed this with. He will bring to your attention some more explanation of why Mr. Randall will be qualified for this position. And I felt strongly that we needed a seventh member on the ZBA. And it's been very, very difficult because of the criteria of the ZBA to be able to find someone who would spend the time and effort that it takes to review these issues. And if anyone has ever spent time at a ZBA meeting, not only are they need to be knowledgeable, with Mr. Randall is, but the time consumed by these issues are not just at these meetings. They take home a literal ream of information that they have to go through. And Mr. Randall has decided to be a public servant and spend that kind of time in the public service of our community. And that's why I chose Mr. Randall as the only applicant that carries the criteria for the ZBA. Mr. Carter.
I'm trying to figure out, have I missed something? Have he been here before the board?
No, but I read to you tonight his communique. I invited him to come here to the board tonight. He's in Texas. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Oh, yeah, I tried to reach Mr. Randall to come. I've asked every single one of these members to appear before the board. Some of them are out of town, some are on vacation, and some are just simply not necessarily have to adhere to my request to come to the board meeting. It's strictly voluntary, Mr. Carter.
Well, Mr. Chairman, look, if somebody in the street tomorrow asks me about this, what am I supposed to say?
That you read the packet, you saw the information, and if you decided that you wanted to pick up the phone and call Mr. Randall, you certainly could have. Any one of these board members can call an applicant. The applications are online. They're on, and they're in your packet. And if you decide to pick up the phone and call them and ask your opinion, they certainly can give you an answer. But I cannot order some appointee to come to this board to introduce themselves.
Well,
These are
to me,
these are people who.
He's
Let me
showing you
finish
right
my
there.
statement, sir. Let me finish my statement. I let you finish yours. Okay? I ask each and every member of these appointees if they would volunteer to come here, and you had a number of them come here tonight and introduce themselves to you.
And I appreciate it.
Okay? And that's because they volunteered to do so, sir. They are not required to do so. And some of them are out of town, and some of them are on vacation. And so Mr. Randall is not here.
Well,
I
then
have
that's
no
why they
idea why
asked
that.
me, why they asked me for the vote if they don't have the courtesy to come up here and face us.
Thank you. Any other discussion? John? Microphone, John, start again,
I'm
please.
sorry, I didn't push the
Bring it
button.
close to your mouth.
All right. I'll start over. I think that we need to remember that it is the chairman's prerogative to make these appointments. We get to vote on them, and we can vote them down if we don't like it, but that's where it stands. If you like it and agree with it, you vote for it. If you don't like it, you don't agree with it, you don't have to support it. And to sit here and hash it over to people that are here or not here, there's absolutely no reason, other than Mr. Carter, that anybody would have to come before this committee to be appointed. I was appointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals 100 years ago, and I didn't have to come before the board to get that appointment. And it wouldn't have made no sense, actually, at that time, because I didn't know what I was getting into till after I'd served a while. And this board operates separate from the county board, the ZBA, and it needs to. Anybody that can put up with our current zoning administrator has to be a good person. And I mean that with all respect, Mr. Hall. But my point is, I think that, I think it's important that these appointees come from the rural areas of the county, the unincorporated area. Those are the areas that's represented by the zoning. It isn't the cities. So now this young man happens to be from the city of Seymour, or the village of Seymour. It's not incorporated. It's in an unincorporated area, and he has some experience with the rural area and what goes on in the rural area. I think he'd make you an outstanding candidate.
Thank you. Mr. James?
Well, I want to second what my twin there is trying to say. And I'm going to quit drinking coffee with him because he's taking some of my quotes.
I'd just like to say, don't ask me to vote. You the vote, put in the work.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Mr. Esri?
I'd just like to say that I don't know, I believe I don't know Mr. Randall as well as Mr. Jade does, but I do know Mr. Randall, and what I know of him, I believe he will make an excellent addition to the ZBA board. That's all, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Maxwell?
Oh, I do know Mr. Randall. I've dealt with him as an engineer. When he and I worked on a project for a little water district down in Seymour. I find the man to have a lot of common sense, a lot of patience, and I think he would make a good member for this board.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Mr. Langenheim? Max? Any other discussion? All right, we're having a few roll calls tonight. You'll get to know our names. Go right ahead.
McGuire.
Yes.
Michaels. Yes. Mitchell.
Yes.
Petrie. Yes. Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yeah.
Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson.
Yes.
Carter.
I hate you two, but I'm gonna vote yes, but I'm gonna raise King, yeah.
Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Harkey.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Kibler.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes. That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Langenheim.
All right, next up, item number 4, adoption of resolution number 8574, authorizing the appointment of Grant Henry to the Housing Authority Board for a term running from August 1st, 2013 through July 31st, 2018, and I so move.
I have a second by Ms. Coward. Thank you. Do I have any discussion on Dr. Henry? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item number 5, adoption of resolution number 8575, authorizing the appointment of Kelly White to the Fine Arts Review Committee for Parkland Community College Applied Technology Center Project. And I so move.
Second, Mr. Kibler. May I have any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Number 6, adoption of resolution number 8576, authorizing the appointment of Brittany Hudson to the Dewey Community Public Water District for an unexpired term ending May 31st, 2018, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Jay. And this is a very controversial water district. It's about 1 block long, and it has husband and wife on the board, and all of the board members live on the same street. So it's a pretty, it's one of our many appointments. Any discussion on this? Ms. Petrie?
Well, I sent a message earlier today asking for a clarification of this date of 5/31/2018, because when I went on that water board website, it was very clear to me that the expiration dates for the members was not in sync with the state statute. And has this been straightened out?
Thank you, Ms. Petrie. You are correct, and we have already addressed that issue on this board. No, Ms.
This particular appointment is for the right term. We have identified that there are 2 other appointments on this board where the individual's appointment terms are not accurate, and those will be brought to policy at the August meeting for correction.
Thank you for the clarification.
And we are checking each and every appointment as we go along now on all of these boards. I have Ms. Rhodes, our administrative assistant. She's putting out these spreadsheets that are going back decades to try and track down each and every one of these dates. So, Mr. Quisenberry, continue. I would like a vote on this. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Quisenberry.
If you'll excuse me, Mr. Kurtz, for pushing. Item number 7, adoption of resolution number 8577, authorizing the appointment of Mitch Swim to the Eastern Illinois Economic Development Authority Board for a term ending January 21st, 2019, and I so move.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Esri. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Number 8, adoption of resolution number 8585, authorizing the appointment of Richard Norton to the Community Action Board for an unexpired term ending December 1st, 2015, and I so move.
Second, Mr. Kibler. There's a yellow sheet with Mr. Norton's qualifications on your desk, and they are extensive. Any discussion on this appointment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9, adoption of resolution number 8586, authorizing the appointment of Tassilo Homolach to the County Board of Health for an unexpired term ending 6/30/2016, and I apologize for any damage I did to that name.
Homolach.
And I so move.
Second by Mr. James. That is a very unique name. It's the only one we know of in the United States of America, actually. You'll see a light purple flyer with Mr. Homolach's extensive medical background. Any discussion? All in favor? Ms. Petrie?
I just, for the record, want a clarification that the information given to us by this gentleman was for the HACC appointment, and so the substitute piece of information, it's important that we get that on the record that this has been changed.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on.
Okay, for item number 10, I move that the administrative secretary position be sent to the Job Content Evaluation Committee for reevaluation, and I so move.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. McGuire, I thought you were seconding it. You wish to discuss. Mr. Hartke.
Okay, I'm going to also limit my comments on S3 to this one. I've got a lot of concerns. It seems we've we did lift the hiring freeze, but now all of a sudden we're jumping on board with every single countywide official and administrative group coming to us asking for new positions and all that, and that's all fine. However, I have some concerns with the fact that we're coming up on budgeting next month. These positions will get created, so that automatically puts them into the budget for next year.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And if I'm wrong on any of this, please clarify. But my concern is the fact that we also not only have our budgeting coming up next month, but we also have the report from ILPP coming out in September. Now, I know that there are probably members of this board that are pretty set on what they want to do, but I certainly think that Mr. Kilgore's comments about a reentry program, I think the idea of adding positions possibly with the public defenders, including a investigator and a new attorney, I think the idea of adding a mental health professional full-time at the jail, I think those are all things that this community really wants done. And while I want our countywide officials to have efficient offices, they've been making do for some time, and I've also been in an administrative position in government when budgets are being cut, and you would like to have positions, but you can't get them filled. I have some concerns about these positions. I think we're rushing into creating new positions, into redefining them. You know, if these are going to be budget neutral, so be it, but I know that several of the last haven't, and I want to make sure that we save budgetary room to consider the Justice Task Force report that we've spent over $150,000 and plus on putting together. So I'd like to have money left to look at those positions rather than jumping on board with a whole bunch of new positions every month for our countywides.
Ms. Busey will respond, and then Mr. McGuire, and then Mr. James.
Just a little clarification. First of all, I want to make sure the board understands that what you're being asked to do tonight with 10, 11, and 12 is not approve anything other than sending these requests to job evaluation to come back to you at a later date. 10 and 11 are not new positions. They're asking for evaluation or reevaluation of existing positions, so it is not adding new positions. And in number 12, I think Ms. Blakeman can speak to the fact that while this would be a new position, it's probably going to be offset by not filling another position in her office.
Mr. McGuire.
Yeah, I was going to say mostly the same thing, and these are elected officials that are trying to improve the efficiencies of their offices, to serve the public better. I think our micromanagement is becoming a real problem and an issue. These offices have been run very under very tight budgets for a long period of time. This isn't a new position. We have a responsibility of oversight, and after these what is essentially an audit, this is something that's commonly done at the university, to make sure that the responsibilities of the position are accurate. It's not a new position. We should give them the opportunity to look at, to ensure that the person is doing the work that they're supposed to be doing, and bring it back to us and let us decide for then whether we should allow them to make those changes. But this is an elected official's office. It's not an office we were elected for. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just would like to add, too, that when a position goes to job content evaluation and comes back to you, sometimes the recommendation is that the position be downgraded. This can result from the changes in responsibilities in the position as the administration of an office changes. So to not send them at least for the review so that you can see the result, it could end up that one of these would save you money rather than costing you more money. That has happened in the past.
Mr. James?
Well, I guess I was just going to say the same thing Deb said earlier, that it's mainly just going to be kicked forward to be looked at and evaluated and gone over. But also I would strongly say that, you know, the county's cut budgets. I heard Josh, and we've all had to cut where we've had to. But one thing I do support is if we have the funds, instead of always starting new programs, which are needed, everything's needed in this world according to somebody, but we need to take care of the things we have. We've lacked in that area. We've lacked when people have gotten sick and we don't have staff to back them up. So I am strongly in favor of always making sure that we're taking care of the people we serve and those that work for us. Then if funds are available, we move forward with all these other dream lists.
Managing the budget is micromanaging. And I'm concerned that all the county-wides have been coming to us with changes in their employment situation. And I very much afraid, before the budget is made, to have all the money going into expanding the bureaucracy instead of providing the justice services that we were hoping to get out of ILPP.
Mr. Hockey and then Mr. Richards. I'll let Mr. Richards speak first. Thank you. Pass to Mr. Richards.
I just want to make sure that we're clear as a county board, because we had this issue a little bit last month. If something is on our agenda, that means the power to make that decision was vested in this county board by the state of Illinois. So whatever we decide to do on these things, it's not micromanaging, because this is a decision for the county board to make. This is a power that the state of Illinois wants the county board to have.
John?
I think it needs to be clear, too, that we're not hiring with this particular item on the agenda. We are doing a job evaluation, which hasn't been done since, I believe, Mr. Ferricks was auditor. So I think it's probably a long due that we owe this position a reevaluation, which is part of this county board's job.
Roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote. A second by Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah, I am going to recommend that my colleagues here support this reevaluation. I think some of the important points are that I have to say that these elected officials I didn't support, I didn't vote for pretty obvious reasons, but I have appreciated the fact that they've taken their job seriously and they're trying to adjust things that have not been adjusted for a long time. Frankly, in the circuit clerk's office, I would call it neglect, how the office had been run. And I appreciate that they're trying in that respect, even though from a political standpoint, we're not on the same side of the fence. So I think we should get the information on whether these jobs are classified right. And then if we don't think we can afford what they recommend, we don't do that. And I'll stand up and say I won't do that if we can't afford it. Thanks.
Mr. Carter, then Mr. Alex. Mr. Carter?
Is this so crucial that we have to vote on this tonight?
Yes, sir, it's on the agenda.
Well, you know what? It seemed that anymore, we used to have 27 board members.
No, we have 22 now, sir.
No, I'm talking about when we had time to come up here and discuss problems, things that we really need to sit down and look at and digest. We had that opportunity. And I used to be on about 5 or 6 committees. I'm on one. And yet and still, we don't have time to sit down and look at these problems. You bring them up here and you just say, well, vote on them. You know, that kind of gets my heart. What is that? And I know it can't be money. It can't be money because we had more. That was 10 years ago. But all of a sudden it got where we don't take time to sit down and discuss. All you do, when I get up here, first thing I see is a bunch of stuff up here that I'm not familiar with. But then you want to ram it down my throat for me to vote on it. Then when I don't, you want to get slick and call roll call. Well, I don't mind you doing me like that because I'm going to tell you something. When I make up my mind and think I'm right, I'm going to stand on it. So you can put me up there and shine your light if you want to. It don't bother me one bit. But I'm gonna just tell you, I'm not happy the way we run this board anymore.
Mr. Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Kurtz. I'll try to be brief. I'm certainly not going to discourage any county board member from doing what they think is exercising fiscal responsibility, and I certainly respect Mr. Richards' point that anything that's on our agenda is on our agenda because it's within our statutory authority. I would just add two things, though. One is that our responsibility as county board members is to do more than merely exercise our statutory responsibility. It's to ensure that the services that the county is providing, and that includes services that the elected officials are providing, are being done in as efficient a manner as possible. And I think that making sure that their staff is appropriately sized and appropriately compensated, whether that's, increases or decreases, is definitely part of our job. And the only way we're going to find that out is by evaluating these. Second, I would say it's part of our responsibility to maintain a sense of perspective on what the purpose of the county's budget process is. I mean, a budget is a plan, but a budget is something that's going to change throughout the year with respect to fiscal realities. I mean, every day, somebody in the county does something that costs a little more than we thought, and every day, somebody in the county does something that costs a little less than we thought. The only time they come to the county board is if they're doing something that's going to cost a lot more than they thought, and they need a budget amendment to do it. So I guess I would encourage board members, as the finance chair, I would encourage board members to keep careful track of the budget reports, which we get from the auditor that shows where we are with respect to the budget, to look at the general corporate fund report that we get from the county administrator most months. It shows where we are with regard to the budget, where we expect to end up with regard to the budget, what we've done to amend the budget. And I further encourage county board members to look at the head count of Champaign County, both in the offices of the county and of the elected officials, to see where we are now, where we were 10 years ago. Before we stand up and say, oh, we're adding all these new positions, we're spending money like drunken sailors, I think there needs to be a recognition that both this county board, previous county boards, and elected officials in the past decade have been very responsible in terms of how they've spent the county's money. And I have no problem with evaluating positions and doing the right thing, even if it means increasing the budget, because at the end of the year, I think it's very likely that through the efforts of these elected officials and the county, we're going to be under budget anyway. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to start with, first off, I do respect the fact that our county-wides have been doing a lot to reorganize their units and make them more efficient. Believe me, I do. I have made that comment several times. I've voted for their requests in the past. I am certainly tempted to vote for these reevaluations as reevaluations or evaluations or potential changes if we are going to revote on them when they come to us to be refilled. I always, when we create one position, turn one half-time position, and as I'm understanding it from our conversation, we turn one position into half-time position into three-quarter position, but leave a half-time position open that can be filled. We'll have to see that. A lot of people work very hard with very limited resources, and I have to use the county resources too, and I'm not getting a whole lot of complaints from people that they're not getting things done. And I do want to hire people. Believe me, my goal here is I would like to increase headcount and bring numbers in. But in doing that, I want to do it smartly, and I want to do it in a fashion that reflects the desires of my constituency and the people of this county. And, IT support is very important. I used to do it myself, but also a reentry coordinator for the jail is going to be also more important. Now, these may come back zero budget, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, so I will probably vote for them. But I want to add one more thing to reiterate what some of the other members have said. Folks, our oversight is not micromanagement, and I have talked to some past officials that have had these countywide positions before, and they've had plenty of budget amendments turned down by this board in the past, and had position rewrites denied and things like that. So I don't think that we're out of our realm of responsibility to ask these questions, to make it difficult, to make them want to have this position bad enough that they're willing to go through the gauntlet to get it. Because I've been in positions where people pack courts, and I'm not saying, or pack their staff, and I'm not saying this is being done, but I do want to watch for that. And I will probably vote for these to go ahead and be reevaluated, but I will have questions when it comes to budget time because I have other priorities.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
McGuire. Yes. Michaels. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Petrie. Yes. Quisenberry. Yes. Richards.
No.
Rosales. Yes. Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Yes. Carter. Yes. Cowart. Esri. Harper. Harkey. James. Jay. Kibler.
Yes.
Langenheim.
Yes.
Maxwell. Kurtz.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Quisenberry.
Forgot I had a responsibility
Let's
here.
move.
Okay, item number 11. Request for review of recommended changes to the IT desktop support technician position. I move that we submit this to the Job Content Evaluation Committee. Thank you.
Second, Mr. Kibler. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries.
And finally, from policy, request, I move that we send the jury coordinator position to the Job Content Evaluation Committee for its creation, and I so move.
Second by Mr. James. Ms. Bergson. Roll call. Second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
McGuire. Michaels. Mitchell.
Stepped out.
Petrie. Quisenberry. Richards. Rosales. Schrader. Alex. Bergson. Carter. Cowart. Esri. Harper. Harkey. James. Jay. Kibler.
Yes.
Langenheim. Maxwell. Mitchell. Kurtz.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Quisenberry. Thank you, sir. Mr. Alex, Finance. And we might take a break after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move adoption of resolution number 8567, payment of claims authorization.
Second, I'm sorry, where was that second? Mr. Kibler? Any discussion on number one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move adoption of resolution number 8568, purchases not following the purchasing policy.
Second by Mr. Esri. Any discussion? All in favor?
Wait, there's a
I'm
question.
sorry. Whoop, Ms. Petrie, I asked for it, you hesitated, but I'm going to stop the vote until you make your statement.
Number one, I do want to compliment you on the shrinkage of this list.
I wish I could take full credit with it, but it's really, it's a statement of folks are following our instructions.
Well, it's very much
You know,
appreciated.
So, yeah, it has gotten quite a bit smaller.
I didn't ask you to come up for just that reason. The question I have has to do with I can't find it quickly, quite a large amount for DSC. And when I was trying to check on this, one of the things I discovered when I went on that website is that I can't find any finances on the DSC website. Do you know anything about that?
On that contract for mental health?
It's almost $11,000 here. I finally found the page. Sorry about that delay. And it's an FDC contract from October of 12.
Let me go through my
And
papers here.
I was just curious why the delay, and then if these are public monies, why I can't find the information on the DSC website.
I can't answer why you can't find it on their website, because they're not a county agency. So I honestly can't answer any of that. As to why they're getting it just now is because it looks like we didn't receive the billing until June the 27th. And it was their billing for the previous year. I'd be glad to try to get more information for you about that one. But quite honestly, this is just like most of the other ones where it's just we get that bill after the time period. It happens to be in this fiscal year, and it's something that they've already contracted with. Mental health has numerous contracts with DSC. I do know that for a fact. Peter Tracy would be a much better person to talk to about that than I would.
I can send him an email. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other discussion? Mr. Kibble?
Sorry, Mr. Farney, this kind of piqued my interest. The first item up from Access Initiative,
Uh-huh.
we're paying with tax, we're paying taxes. It says tax on car rental from 530, but the vendor is Visa card member services, but they don't rent out cars. So where did the
Right.
tax get paid to? Is this more of an interest payment, or what was that?
No, it was for a vehicle rental from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. There should be, but the person who rented the car did not give them our tax-free item. We usually, when this happens, we ask the person who did that to request the taxes be withdrawn. Most of the times it happens. In this case, it did not. And so the person who submitted this bill, I don't want, I can give you their name if you'd like to talk to them personally.
One
Sure.
follow-up to that.
And Mr. Kibler was speaking and had the floor. Please continue.
Sorry, no, the vendor specifically should not be Visa, it should be Enterprise.
Actually, because it was paid on the Visa card,
Then there's the vendor, okay.
yeah,
Just curious on that.
they
Thank you.
paid with their Visa card there, yes. And I remember also, Access Initiative is part of the Mental Health Board, and they are one area that we are not allowed to audit.
All right, any other discussion?
By statute.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Alex?
Thank you. I move adoption of resolution number 8569, authorizing the execution of a deed of conveyance of the county's interest or cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on real estate, permanent parcel number 140335185005.
Second.
Second, Mr. Esri. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I move adoption of resolution number 8570, authorizing the cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on a mobile home, permanent parcel number 20-032-0115.
Second.
Second, Ms. Michaels. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I move adoption of resolution number 8571, authorizing the cancellation of the appropriate certificate of purchase on a mobile home, permanent parcel numbers 20-032-0202.
Second.
Second by Ms. Michaels, once again. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I move adoption of resolution number 8580, authorizing budget amendment number 13-00034, general corporate fund of the coroner, increased appropriations of $21,971, increased revenue of $21,979, cover the cost of the refrigerator, freezer, body, cooler.
Second. I'm sorry, where'd the second come from? Mr. James. Ms. Petrie.
Yes, the coroner isn't here, so
No, he's not.
I wanted on the record thanking him that he did go after grant money, because this was something that was brought up when he brought this to us as the former board. So for the record, and anybody who sees him tomorrow, let him know we acknowledge this.
I can add to that is that I'm on the board and secretary of the Champaign-Urbana Public Health District, and he's gotten about $16,000 from us as well for this cooler. So he's covering all his bases, and he's doing a good job of it, and we just approved that at our last board meeting. So I think he's going to get his cooler one way or the other. All in favor?
We need a roll call.
What? Sorry. Where are we?
We need a roll call.
Oh, it's a roll call. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, right. I need another roll call, please.
McGuire. Yes. Michaels. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Petrie. Yes. Quisenberry. Yes. Richards. Yes. Rosales. Yes. Schrader.
Yes.
Alex. Yes. Bergson. Yes. Carter. Yes. Cowart. Yes. Esri. Yes. Harper. Yes. Hartkey. Yes. James. Yes. Jay. Yes. Kibler.
Yes.
Langenheim. Yes. Maxwell. Yes. Kurtz.
Yes. Motion carries.
If you'd like that, we get to do it 5 times more. I move adoption of resolution number 8572, authorizing budget amendment 13-00035, To the county clerk for $3,000 of increased appropriations, $3,000 of increased revenue, cover the end of fiscal year for surcharges paid to the Illinois Department of Health and corresponding fees revenue received by the county for death certificates.
Second.
Oh, Ms. Michaels is on the ball tonight. Second for Ms. Michaels. We have any discussion on this item? If not, we'll have a roll call. Roll call, please.
McGuire. Yes. Michaels.
Yes.
Mitchell. Yes. Petrie. Yes. Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards. Yes. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Carter. Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Harkey.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Kibler.
Yes.
Langenheim. Maxwell.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes. Motion carries.
I move adoption of Resolution 8581, authorizing budget amendment 13-00036, Regional Planning Commission, Emergency Solutions Even Years, increased appropriation of $20,000, increased revenue of $20,000 to accommodate alternating fiscal years for the Emergency Solutions Grant, providing emergency rent and rapid rehousing assistance to homeless persons.
Second.
Ms. Coward, second. She beat you to it. Diane. Any discussion? All right, let's move on to the next roll call, please.
McGuire. Yes. Michaels.
Yes.
Mitchell. Yes. Petrie. Yes. Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Carter. Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Harkey.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Kibler. Langenheim.
Yes.
Maxwell.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes. Motion carries.
Move adoption of resolution number 8582, authorizing budget amendment 13-00037, the Regional Planning Commission Urbana Bicycle Plan, increased appropriations of $37,678, increased revenue of $37,678 for the RPC to do the Urbana Bicycle Plan.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Quisenberry. Any discussion? Roll call.
McGuire.
Yes.
Michaels.
Yes.
Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Carter. Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper.
Yes.
Hartkey.
Yes.
James.
No.
Jay.
Yes.
Kibler. Langenheim. Maxwell.
Yes.
Kurtz.
Yes, I think that carries. Motion carries. Thank you. Oh, Stan.
I move
Okay.
adoption of resolution number 8583, authorizing budget amendment 13-00038, Regional Planning Commission sidewalk assessment, increased appropriations of $121,970, increased revenue of $121,970, RPC to take money to conduct a sidewalk inventory and condition assessment for the Champaign-Urbana urbanized area.
Second by Ms. Coward. Any discussion? Roll call.
McGuire. Michaels.
Yes.
Mitchell. Petrie.
Yes.
Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards. Rosales.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Carter. Cowart. Esri.
Yes.
Harper. Harkey. James.
Yes.
Jay. Kibler. Langenheim. Maxwell. Mitchell. Kurtz.
Yes, motion carries.
Move adoption of resolution number 8584, authorizing budget amendment 13-00039, Regional Planning Commission Transit Facility Analysis, increased appropriations of $39,988, increased revenue of $39,988 for the second phase of the urbanized area transit facility guidelines for CUMTD.
Second by Mr. Kibler. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McGuire. Michaels.
Yes.
Mitchell. Petrie. Quisenberry.
Yes.
Richards. Rosales. Schrader.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Bergson. Carter. Yes. Coert. Yes. Esri. Yes. Harper. Yes. Harkey. Yes. James.
Yes.
Jay. Yes. Kibler. Yes. Langenheim. Yes. Maxwell. Yes. Kurtz.
Yes. All in favor, I'm sorry, motion carries. I'm going to.
Thank you. I'd like to move, I got
I'm
a
sorry.
finance addendum item.
Oh, I'm
Which
sorry.
we'll get to
Forgot the
while I still
addendum.
have the mic here. That'd be item 12 under finance on the addendum, which is the monthly nursing home report. We do not have a financial report this month. The nursing home board will be meeting at the end of the month as a strategic planning session. But as usual, we have Mr. Harkey and Mr. Maxwell who will discuss and/or answer questions about the nursing home.
Do either of you gentlemen, Mr. Maxwell gave us a beautiful synopsis of the last board on our email. Would you like to just reiterate what that was for the record?
Mr. Alex stated it fairly well. There was no Board of Directors meeting, regular Board of Directors meeting for July. There will, however, be a strategic planning session, a special study session on July the 29th. And the report that I wrote up was basically developed from the June report that Scott Hema did submit to the Board of Directors about a week ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Petrie?
Yes, for our two liaisons to the Nursing Home Board, especially since you're having this planning meeting on the 29th of July, I have 2 points. The first point has to do with the census statistics, and it appears to me from reading these statistics over these past few months, there is a pattern developing where people are being sent to the nursing home more for rehab than for a longevity of stay. And I find that very interesting and wonder if the board is interested in ferreting out this somewhat new pattern that appears to be told through these statistics. And the second is, due to the fact that the census is down, I would like to hear the board explore the possibility of what it would do for the nursing home finances if one of the wings was closed for a period of time.
Any other discussion? We're going to put this report on file.
I don't know if it constitutes a report.
Yeah.
Actually, I guess I will say, I'll thank Mr. Maxwell, who provided a copy of an email or a letter from Mr. Gima related to improvements or prospective improvements in the food situation. And I guess I would ask that we receive that and place that on file.
Is that a
And I
motion?
would move, I would so
Motion
move.
moved to place that on file. Second, Mr. Kibler. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Before I take a break, Mr. Hartke.
We're still on finance. I have a
Yeah.
question about a previous budget amendment that we voted on last month, I believe. And I'm just asking for clarification for myself. There was a budget amendment before the board regarding a position in the recorder's office that was going to be increased to about $12,000. I believe that was voted down, but I'm under the understanding that the money was found anyway, and I'd just like a short little explanation of how that happened.
It was indeed voted down. I do not know whether the recorder found the money elsewhere. Does, Deb, do you have any information?
The recorder has not done anything to date with regard to that issue.
Then the rumor I heard was wrong, and I withdraw my question.
That concludes finance.
Okay. I'll give you a chance to get back to your seat there, John. I won't talk. No, that's all right, John. You can talk all the way around. We know you talk to yourself all the time. All right, we're back in order. The next order of business, Standing Committee, Environment and Land Use, Mr. Langenheim.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. This is item 12A1. I move adoption of resolution number 8504 denying petition to amend the ordinance by reclassifying certain property in case 687-AM-11.
I need a second, please. Second by Mr. Hartke.
Okay, before we take off,
Go ahead.
I'm reading it to you, what you're getting in your.
In discussion, go right ahead, sir. Go ahead.
What?
You're reading into the record on this, on discussion
Yes,
side.
I'm reading this into the
Please.
record. The ZBA denied the special use permit, case 688S11, for the proposed RLA and also recommended denial of this, in this case. The committee accepted the ZBA recommendation and had recommended denial in May, but this case was deferred because of developments in a court case. The board has been made aware of the outcome of that court case, and the state's attorney and the zoning administrator are in agreement that this case should be considered on its own merits. Okay?
Thank you. Any other discussion, Mr. Esri?
Yes, in part based on discussion in our caucus, I would move that we remand this back to ELUC to let it go through ELUC again, in part, large part because of the Gertis case, and let it go back through ELUC.
We have a second on Mr. Mitchell. So I have an amendment to this resolution that it go back to ELOC, we defer it back to ELOC. I'm sorry.
You're moving to return it to committee.
To committee.
Not an amendment, so much.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that?
Yeah.
Mr. Schroeder.
Being someone that's on the ELUC committee, I'd like to see this back and have some discussion on it since we didn't have our committee structure for this month. And we just recently found out the last, in June, of the decision, certain court decision that was effective in this case. So I'm going to vote to support this to remit it back to, I assume, August?
Yes.
Is that was your motion?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Alex?
At the risk of attempting to practice law without a license, my sort of first order interpretation, and based on some information I've received from zoning administrator and others, is that probably this is a map amendment. As a map amendment, Gertis probably doesn't bear directly on this case, but I do think there's a considerable number of issues in this case that are worth considering, and I would also be comfortable seeing it go back to the ELUC committee if they're willing to take it.
Any other, Ms. Bergson?
What is this case?
Would you want to?
What is this case that's supposed to bear on it, since they said that it didn't bear on it? The state's attorney said it didn't. What's the issue in that case?
That's true. I don't disagree with that, but aside from that, I think there's an issue. Well, what case? What do you mean?
Everyone's saying there is a case that pertains to this.
Oh, that was the
One at a time,
decision.
please. No cross discussion, John, until I ask you. Would you please just respond to Ms. Bergson, and then Ms. Bergson can respond back to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Bergson, you want to continue what you said?
What is the case?
All right, Mr. Schroeder.
It's just what we mentioned. It's the Gertis case that we just learned about in June. And I understand what you're saying. It doesn't have a direct, because it is a difference. You're talking about an RLA versus a map amendment for this case. But it does, there are circumstances because of this case as a map amendment that will allow the special use of an RLA to be approved. And I think there are some issues that pertain to that without getting into detail.
Mr. Hall, do you want to make any clarification on that since it was you and Mr. I'm sorry. Your microphone.
Blue lights flashing.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Mr. Hall, you and I recommend that this was a separate type of case. Could you give us a little bit more, perhaps, of an explanation as to what brought you to that conclusion?
Well, basically, the state's attorney and I, looking at the Gertis case, the agricultural use of that RLA is much different than the agricultural use proposed here. The Gertis case was a decision of a local court. It doesn't set precedent. There is some legal means by which an attorney representing another landowner could claim some sort of legal relativity, and I don't want to get into that because I don't know much about it. But basically, in zoning terms, which was the most agricultural use, there's a big difference here, and the board is free to determine this case without really much consideration of the Gertis. I don't know why there's interest in returning it to ELUC. I would appreciate some guidance on exactly how much of the volumes of material there is in this case that the committee would like to see when it gets back to them in August, if that's going to be the outcome, because there is a terrific amount of material. And if the committee is brave enough to wade through that all, it's probably going to take more than one meeting.
Mr. Alex.
I guess I would say that my support for the motion is based on the following. I'm very reluctant, and I think have almost never, perhaps never, gone against the recommendation of the ELUC committee or the ZBA, because I understand that as hearing bodies and as deliberative groups, they do a very good job sorting through what are very complicated issues. I don't think it's appropriate to, sort of determine those issues on the floor here if they haven't been through committee. The issue that's being raised here, I think, is whether we should rely on the precedent that came out of the ZBA and the ELUC committee first time, given that it's been several months and there's been an intervening court case that may or may not have a bearing on this. So although my inclination is to acknowledge that this is a relatively different case, that the Gertis case probably doesn't directly bear on this, I'd like to hear that from the ELUC committee, given we didn't have an ELUC committee meeting, and have the ELUC committee sort of either affirm or modify what they've directed the board to do before the full board takes action on it.
Thank you. Ms. Petrie.
Well, as a member of the ELUC committee, I see absolutely no reason for this to go back to the ELUC committee. They aren't comparable in any way, shape, or form. There is no new evidence that has come forward to change the decision on this particular case based on the circuit court decision on the Geddes case. None whatsoever. So I don't appreciate, and I have not heard an argument yet that placed by others for the reason for bringing this back to ELUC. And seriously, there is that much reading material to do if we're going to do due diligence when it comes back to ELUC. So we need some new facts, and we don't have any new facts.
Mr. Langenheim.
As chairman of ELUC, I shouldn't be undermining impressions of what ELUC's conclusions are, but I assure you that the ELUC committee is by no means unanimous in its opinion on this.
Any other discussion? Mr. John Jay.
Well, I don't really know anything about it. Probably shouldn't even be speaking to the issue, but if it goes back to ELUC and they can't do anything with it or can't change it, you can send it back just like it was. It's not dead if you so desire. And you know, there might be something that can happen that would make it a positive instead of a negative. I don't know that, but I'm not on ELEC, so I don't have to attend that meeting.
Yeah, but you usually show up at those meetings. I do. Yes, you do. So I caught you there. Are there any discussion on this motion? All right. I'm sorry. Was there another? Did you have another statement to make, Mr. Chair? No, I don't have. Okay. All right, so let's vote on putting it back. Roll call. Second. All right. He's going to lose his voice tonight, I have a feeling. We're voting on sending it back to the ELOC committee. A yes sends it back, a no does not.
McGuire? Yes. Mitchell? Yes. Petrie? No. Richards? Yes. Schrader?
Yes.
Alex? Yes. Bergson? No. Carter? No. Cowart? No. Esri?
Yes.
Harper?
Yes.
Harkey?
No.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Kibler?
Yes.
Langenheim? No. Maxwell?
Yes.
Kurtz?
No. Motion carries. It goes back to ELOC next month, and then back to the county board at the end of the month. What's that? Okay, I missed that, but,
I said, I'm warning you, I'm leaving town.
oh, he's leaving, oh, not again. Okay,
Maybe,
that
I don't
bucket
know.
list is a
Actually,
long bucket list there.
I'm joking, but
Ralph.
maybe not necessarily.
Go right ahead,
May I continue?
please.
I move adoption of Resolution 8534, approving a variance to the zoning ordinance in zoning case 749V13.
Second.
Okay. Well, let me read this into the record. This is related to the recent zoning case involving the Sangamon Valley Public Water District near Mahomet. This variance will allow the Sangamon Valley Public Water District to receive a zoning use permit for construction of the new water treatment plant without seeking subdivision approval and annexation from the village of Mahomet. The village is free to pursue enforcement of its subdivision regulations. Special condition C requires the Sangamon Valley Public Water District to submit a partial plan of subdivision, plat of subdivision as required by the ordinance, and the zoning administrator received the required plat this afternoon, and this condition has already been met. And that's it.
No, oh, okay. Ms. Petrie?
Yes, for the record, in deference to my colleagues who represent this area, I have agreed to support this, but I do want it on the record, as I've stated when this came to us way back last December, that I am not very happy that these two entities cannot play in the sandbox together and share the toys.
Thank you, Ms. Petrie. All right. Let's vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That finishes it up for ELUC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May we go to Ms. Coward on the highway?
Okay, the Highway Committee has one thing, and that's a resolution for contract award authority. To receive a sealed bid and to be accepted for the county engineer, Jeff Blue, to accept the low bid for construction.
Can I have the resolution number, please, Ms. Coward, for the record?
Resolution number 8566.
Thank you. Second, Mr. Carter. Any discussion on this? Mr. Alex?
Mr. Blue, for the record, can you state what the engineer's estimate is for the project? $250,000. Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Other business, new business. All right, here's what's going to happen now. We're going into executive session. We'll need a motion for that. When we go into executive session, we'll finish up, we'll close executive session, reopen the meeting, even though there will be no business conducted, and then close it again as required by the Open Meetings Act. Ms. Petrie?
Since we are not going to go back into open session, we were given a memorandum,
Yeah, we are coming back.
but he said there's no business.
Well,
Let's take her
what? Yeah, you want to do that now?
Well, we can, as long as we have time to do it. Okay, thank you.
Na-
Do it now.
What? No, do it now.
Do it now?
Yeah, do it now,
Okay, fine.
since we're in open session now.
Okay, we have on our desk a memorandum from Ms. Busey concerning the resignation of our facilities director, and I would like to hear a little bit more about this. And I noticed the date of notification was the 1st of July, and this is the 18th of July, and it's the first we're learning about this. That seems a long time period.
Well, we had to, I didn't really want to notify the board until we had put together information to move forward with conducting a search, which included naming individuals to a search committee, and that was just completed in the past few days. And otherwise, I think the information is in the memo with regard to what is being done for the search.
Mr. Carter?
Yeah, I apologize, but I had a question about the Community Action Board.
Yeah, what about that?
What that consists of?
The Community Action Board?
Yeah.
Well, it's a group of community people who work on the betterment of the community. They bring together different ideas. They work with the Regional Planning Commission, and they're a board made up of citizens who have public interest in promoting good ideas for Regional Planning Commission and others to work on. So it's a community action board of citizens who volunteer for this opportunity.
Oh, is that part of the early 7 o'clock in the morning meeting board, or what is that?
I'm not sure which one you mean, but there's a couple of 7 o'clock in the morning meetings. Farm Bureau Legislative Committee, I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm
anyway.
not sure what time this board meets, but I doubt if it's 7 in the morning. 4:30 in the afternoon. Okay, 4:30 in the afternoon.
Well, who's on the board?
Steve O'Connor.
Well, I don't have those in front of me here. What's that? Oh, here, Jim. Jim's on the board on the community action.
Steve Connor was on the board. He's come off the board. I'm also on the board. It meets the first Thursday of the month and here at RPC. We discuss the issues and the budgets of the different RPC funds for the youth diversion program, things of that type in the community, and we vote on those budgets.
Was there anybody on there from my community that I can go to if I have a question?
From Champaign, or Janelle, there's a lot of different people from, community elements, different disability boards throughout the community. It's a diverse group of people, yes. I can get you the list of names if you want to talk to them, yeah.
We'll get you the list of names, Mr. Carter, if that's okay.
Well,
Okay?
And there's people from your community, African-American
I mean,
community.
we can't know every person on every board. There are so many. But what we try to do is add good people to each board with expertise in the field that they're working in. So we'll get you the list, if you'd like, on this one board. Be happy to.
There are actually some very positive programs that will help with the criminal justice system, diversion programs, bring youth in, talk to the families, help support families in the community to support kids, to get them off the street, things like that. So there's a lot of good programs that they support, and we support that have had some very positive success with kids. So
Jim, would you get Mr. Carter the schedule so he might be able to attend? we'll get you a schedule so you can attend some of the meetings.
I'll
How's that?
get with him.
Okay, there you go.
I move that we enter into executive session pursuant to 5 ICLS 120/2C1 to consider the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of Champaign County. I further move that the following individuals remain present: the Chief Deputy Auditor, the County Auditor, the County Administrator, and the Recording Secretary.
McGuire. Mitchell. Petrie. Richards. Schrader. Alex. Bergson. Carter. Cowart. Esri. Harper. Harkey. James. Jay. Kibler.
Yes.
Langenheim. Maxwell. Kurtz.
Yes, and I'm so glad Mr. James has taken over for Mr. O'Connor. It would, yes, well, not memory. Come on. He's not gone yet.